Okay, Hazy and T in the building. We got Ray Ferrarro coming up. I Only Touch Greatness podcast. He's here. Let's go. If you like what we're doing, hit that subscribe button. Let's go.
If you're looking for a mug, perhaps a hoodie, head on over to IOnlyTouchGreatness.com.
Hey, it's Ray Ferrarro from TSN. 18 years in the NHL now, 19 years as a broadcaster. I'm on the I Only Touch Greatness podcast. Hope you guys like it. Hope everybody's well. Peace.
Okay.
I'm Ryan,
Awesome.
by the way. Thank you for taking the time.
Right? No problem. Awesome.
We'll make this quick for you.
Yeah, no problem. Once we're hooked up, it's always easier. It's just it's just getting the time, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so born in Trail, what was life like growing up for you?
Oh man, I was lucky. I mean, Trail was just an awesome place to grow up. It's small, right? So I don't know, maybe 10,000 at the time. You know, my extended family was all in Trail. You know, my mom had two sisters and a brother, and so every Christmas and birthday there were 13 cousins to run around and play. Trail's a really sports minded community, and so we had you know, like our local heroes were the 1961 Trail Smoke Eaters. They won the world championships.
Yep.
And so, but you knew all those guys because, you know, Seth Martin ran the sporting goods store, and Cal Hockley was around town, and you know, Addie Tambellini, Steve's dad, he ran the athletic department. So like these guys, it felt real, and like you could achieve something. And you know, baseball, track, hockey was, man, it was sports. It was a great place to grow up.
The Tambellinis actually own the Smoke Eaters, don't they?
No, they do not. They the guy that bought them is from out of town.
Okay.
Spent a lot of money there, and they've done just an amazing job. They made Trail one of the best places to play in the BC Junior League. Jeff, Steve's son, was coaching there.
Yeah. Okay.
And now he's signed. He's a pro scout, a college scout. So he's moved on from coaching right now.
I used to play against Jeff here. I'm in Coquitlam, and he was always from Port Moody. So I used to play against Jeff. A bit of a puck hog back in the day, you know.
Well, yeah, but he always had, because like every Tambellini, it's like, it's genetics, man. They can skate. They're the best skaters all the time. So why pass it if you can carry it?
No, exactly. I hated playing against that guy. Did you play any other sports growing up?
Oh yeah, I love baseball. Baseball was really, you know, neck and neck to me with my favorite sport. I played in the 1976 Little League World Series. So our team won the Canadian Championship, and we played in Williamsport. My brother actually played 5 years later, and his team went. So for me, it was baseball and hockey. And then, you know, I golfed as much as I could, but I didn't have a lot of time. And as time went on, golf is what I do now.
Yeah, you actually answered the next question. I was going to ask you about your Little League World Series. Well, what was that like going to that?
Oh. Well, okay, I was 11 years old. You got to remember it was in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
So I'd never been on a plane. The furthest I had been away was Spokane, Washington, which is a 2.5-hour drive from Trail. So, I mean, we've been nowhere. I hadn't been to Alberta, right? I'd been in Trail. And so we came to Vancouver. That was a big trip for the BC tournament, and we kind of crushed everybody there. And then the Canadian Championships were in Sherbrooke, Quebec. And like I said, I'd never been on a plane. And then we won the Canadian Championship, and we go down to Williamsport, and I couldn't even tell you how many people were there, 10, 12, 15,000 people for the first game. And we're from a town of 10,000 people, man. It was awesome. It was so great.
Drafted 88th overall by Hartford. Describe the feelings that day when you got your name called.
Not very happy. Disappointed. I led the BC. Well, I don't know if I dropped or that's just where I was ranked. I mean, I played in the BC Junior League in Penticton. I won the scoring title by 50 points, and 3 other guys from that league got drafted in front of me. And so I was like, I don't know where I thought I was going to go, but certainly higher than that. And it wasn't covered. It wasn't on TV or anything. So I kept calling the local radio station about every half hour and, hey, have I been picked yet? And finally I get a call, and I want to say it was mid to late morning. And, the guy on the radio said, hey, you've been called 88th overall, 5th round, Hartford. I mean, I hadn't talked to anybody from Hartford. I had no idea. And as it turned out, in that draft, they drafted Kevin Dineen in the 3rd round and Ulf Samuelsson in the 4th round and me in the 5th. And so what was a disappointing day turned out to be, a great opportunity. For Hartford, it was a fantastic draft. And for me, I ended up growing up in Hartford. Like all the guys that were on that team, I'd say 10 of us stay in touch, and we keep coming across each other. We have a whole pile of guys that coach that were on that team, and Mike Liut's an agent, and I do what I do, and it was a pretty awesome group.
And now even kind of a circle of life. You got Ronnie Francis down in Seattle, and then there's where Cammi's going too.
Yeah, Cammi's my wife is working for Seattle. She's a pro scout there, and quite busy. It might not seem like much to people because it's kind of out on the horizon, but not very much time till they got to put their roster together. And so they're, you scout potential players that might be available. You scout, you're taking a look at people that might be free agents. You got to build from nothing. There's nothing there. And so it's a really cool time to be involved. And Ronnie's an awesome guy. Like, he is really calm, really thoughtful. I think he'll do an awesome job there.
Yeah, and the Canucks better get Green locked up, or you might be down there in Seattle.
I don't know what they're doing there. I'm sure right now Travis is looking at that defense and wondering what today's going to hold for them.
Oh, I know. No kidding. So 408 goals, 490 assists in 1,258 games over 18 seasons. What's the most memorable goal you ever scored?
I can tell you my most memorable assist.
Playoff run.
Yeah, that was in 93 in overtime when I set up David Volek in Game 7, and we knocked out Pittsburgh. They'd won the Cup 2 years in a row. Like, that comes really quick. Oh gosh. I don't know that I have a favorite NHL goal. I have a favorite goal that I scored, but that was at the World Championships. We were in a shootout to get to the gold medal game against Russia, and their first player scored on Curtis Joseph, was our goalie, and our first 4 guys missed. Their 5th guy missed, and I was our last shooter, and I had to score. And I scored. We ended up winning. Paul Correa scored, and man, that was that was a pretty cool goal to score.
Okay, well, that works. That we can add that as your favorite goal.
Oh, that's it. I mean, I don't know. They're all, put it this way: it goes off my knee, goes off. It's a breakaway. It doesn't matter. They're all nice. I love them all.
That's what I say in beer league hockey. That's for sure. I put them in any way you can.
Doesn't matter. They all go on the board.
So played for the Whalers, Islanders, Rangers, Kings, Thrashers, Blues. Which one? I'm guessing the Whalers, but which one was your favorite franchise?
Well, Whalers, because of the way we grew up and the way that our team was so close and we were all the same age and going through the same things of life at the same time. But I had my most success with the Islanders. We had that great playoff run in '93. I scored 40 goals there. Played with some really great players, and I really liked living on Long Island. It was a good place too. I was spoiled. The first 11 years of my career, I was in two places, in Hartford and Long Island, and they would be my favorites. I will say, living in LA is not so bad. I kind of loved it there too.
Did you have a favorite road city to travel to, or like even a road barn to play in?
Oh, Montreal. I loved the Forum. It was my favorite place. I had a lot of success there. But I loved the history. I loved the arena, the old Forum, way more than the Bell Center. But the Forum is just like, it was small and compact, and the people were right on top of you, and there was no glass behind the bench. So the fans were like right there. If you were at the end of the bench, you'd sit right beside the fans. Like literally, the guy'd be eating a hot dog like a foot from you. It was, I just love that place.
Okay. We hear a lot for the WHL, everybody always says Prince Albert is kind of that one where they're right on top of you.
Yeah. When I played though, it was also the place that you'd go into and they just beat the hell out of you too. They had Ken Baumgartner and Dave Manson on defense. And you didn't want to be around the front of the net there too often. I mean, that was the other place. I don't know if it's the same now, but Regina used to have really tough teams. And so those would be the two places in the Eastern Division. You'd go in there and they'd be a little nervous. That's for sure.
Yeah. Did you ever wish you played for Vancouver? Because I know Landon had the PTO here a couple of years back. Did you ever wish you got to play here?
Oh yeah, I wanted to, in particular towards the end of my career. I would have just loved it, but they had Cliff Ronning at that time.
Yeah.
And, Cliff was doing the job here, and it was unlikely, especially at that time, that they were going to have two centers that were not very big. Well, actually were quite small. Yeah. So, that just wasn't to be. I mean, I loved coming to play here. My dad and my mom would come down, and, there'd be a whole bunch of people from Trail at the game. And, I don't know. I just loved doing that, and I would have loved to have had a chance.
Yeah, we would have loved to have seen you in it. 2010 Olympics, you obviously helped broadcast and stuff. Where were you when the golden goal happened?
I was a foot from Chris Cuthbert. I was sitting right beside him. Seats, as you might imagine, were at a premium. Yeah. And because we were using one up, one down, the analyst chair was empty next to Chris. So I just sat there and watched him work his magic and call the golden goal. And it was a unbelievable day to be in the arena. And I had so much fun working those Olympics. It was really pretty cool. The golden goal was the most notable moment, of course, but my favorite moment when I was broadcasting was watching the Slovak team. It was they were in a shootout, and it was kind of like their last hurrah for that great group of Slovak players. And they all had their arms around each other. And I was standing, right beside the bench. I was between the benches, and I'll never forget that. And one of my ex-teammates, the late Pavel Dimitra, was there, and just seeing how emotional those guys were was just amazing.
And then you also worked with Cammi at the 2010. What was it like working so close?
Well, we didn't work together
on different networks.
Yeah, but it was kind of, thankfully we weren't together because we had just had our second baby. our house was an absolute gong show. Her sister was in helping look after the kids. We had a 3 and a newborn, and I don't know how Cammi was doing it. She was, having to look after the baby, racing to the game, doing game work, going back to home, and and I was doing 2 games a day. It was it was a little bit of a
Shit show.
Yeah, it was. Now that was the second time we'd done it, because in 2006 we worked in Torino together, and that was a little better because, quite frankly, because it was just the 2 of us, and we'd been married 4 years, we didn't have any kids yet, and we were in Italy, and that was a great trip.
Okay, yeah, I mean the 2010 Olympics stands out as one of the best 2-week spans of my life. It was great downtown. As soon as the golden goal went in, we headed right downtown. And
the Olympics were amazing. It was just such a cool atmosphere. I mean, it's different than the Stanley Cup finals, and which of course were a year later, but like at the Olympics, you're just so proud to be Canadian. And you'd see people from Sweden, and they didn't, as an example, they didn't feel like the enemy. They were just there supporting their families or their athletes. Or you'd see somebody from the US, and it was like, man, they were up enjoying the city and enjoying the Olympics. It was just like the atmosphere was so cool. And then at the finals, man, like it's just like life and death. I mean, it's a different vibe. I love the Olympics.
What were your thoughts when EA Sports came and called you in 2015 to be the voice?
Well, I didn't play a lot of video games, and I'm no good at them. And they said, hey, this is what are you interested? We'd like you to try it. And I had no concept how they tape the game. I think a lot of people have no idea about it. But really, I was totally unprepared for it. I went in, I thought I would be watching a video game or watching a game and just calling highlights off of that. But it's not that. You go in, there's a computer screen with a bunch of different scenarios, and you got to make everything up. So everything you hear on the video game, the scenario's been drawn up, and I'm making it up. Like there's nothing to watch. It's just a computer screen with a bunch of text on it. And so it's way more challenging than you might think. What I am amazed with is how many people, they get pissed that that I call a play a certain way. Like I think they think that I'm there watching the game.
Yeah.
Right. But I've, taped it months or years before. I got no idea what's going on when they're playing the game. It's all AI, artificial intelligence. It triggers all these different things, which I don't understand. And I go do my part, and James Cebulski does his part. Sometimes we're together, sometimes we're apart, and the computer guys put it all together, and it comes out to a pretty amazing finished product.
Oh yes, it definitely does. And that's just right here in Burnaby, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So we're not able to, of course, through COVID to be in the studios. So I have a setup in my closet.
Yeah, I heard you say that on TSN 1040, the good show.
Yeah, I am on or in my closet for 5 hours a day on taping days. And I mean, you look around, it's just your closet, right? But there's this mic there, and I don't know how but apparently it all works.
Can you just read it off your phone, or do you have a monitor?
No, I have my computer set up.
Oh, okay.
But again, I mean, it's just, there's the scenario, and I got to make it up. So it's the same thing. It's just I'm not at the studio, which is an amazing place. The EA studios are awesome.
Actually, one time back when I was going to BCIT, they did us a walkthrough through the
pretty cool place.
It's awesome. It was awesome. You always do the World Juniors, and it's one of the best tournaments in the world. Even this year, I've already interviewed a bunch of the Canadian players and Perfettis, and I did Matty Berniers and Cogliano Sam Colangelo, and then Dustin Wolf as well from the U.S. team, and I had a bunch of the Slovaks. So this year since we started the podcast, we've been doing a lot of prospects that are coming up through the draft, and even Owen Power, next year's number 1 guy. We've got him on the show already, but we love this tournament, and you're always the voice of the tournament. What's your favorite city you've been to? Because I know Cammi was saying this is usually your family trip.
Yes, we've had some great Christmases overseas. I don't know that there's been one that we haven't really enjoyed. The one that sticks out to me though was Helsinki. It was so cold and so snowy, and they had this outdoor rink right by the train station. And my oldest son with Cammi, Riley, he was probably, I'm going to say 9 at the time. And we went and we skated at that outdoor rink, and you'd go into the little hut and get hot chocolate. And it's one of my favorite memories I've had with Riley. And we went in, and the tournament was unbelievable. The Finns won in overtime in the gold medal game. But we've been to Malmo, Sweden, Ostrava in the Czech Republic. We've been Toronto, Montreal, Buffalo. Every trip we've been on, there's something that's just been awesome to it. So it was sad for many reasons this year to be away at Christmas, but also just to miss all the enthusiasm around that tournament.
What did you do in the bubble when you had to get there? Then you had
There's nothing to do.
Yeah,
There's nothing to do. I had a bike in my room. I worked out. I did my prep. I read, watched a lot of football because there was a lot of football going on right there. There's literally the bubble is like, there is nothing there for you. Like, you can't go for a walk. Like, there's a fence right outside the hotel. Yeah. You walk outside the fence into a car, or the bus takes you to the rink. You get out. You go into the rink, do your testing, and you go do the game. Then you come home. That's it. So it's not those guys that were in there for 2 months in the summer. Yeah. Honestly, we throw around mental health, but it's depressing. Like it really is, because you just crave some fresh air. You crave a chat, crave a coffee with somebody, and you just can't do it.
Yeah, I don't know how much I can handle of doing that. I probably wouldn't be able to handle it.
Well, you get tired of your own company in a hurry. That's for sure.
Yeah, you end up talking to yourself by the end of it.
Sometimes you get the right answer, but not always.
Yeah, I'd always answer right. If you could sit down for dinner with anybody, who would it be, dead or alive?
Oh boy, anybody. Lots of people, I think. Lots of people would be really interesting. I'd love to go to dinner with Barack Obama.
Okay.
Just to hear his views on, man, it's so interesting. And you don't even have to agree with his politics all the time, but just a view of the world that you would never, ever see. Yeah. Like that. I think that would be amazing. A
lot of people always say Muhammad Ali.
Go ahead.
A lot of people always say Muhammad Ali. For me,
he would be like his life through the 60s and 70s. He was the most famous person on the planet, and his courage and his, standing for what he believed would have been like, it would be amazing to hear him talk.
Yeah.
Just the way that he spoke was mesmerizing.
Yeah. I always go like Hulk Hogan, maybe a GSP, or Don Cherry.
And see, everybody's got something that interests them. Like, I think I'd like to sit down with, maybe Jack Nicklaus, somebody like, I love golf, just somebody with the history of the game, and just to like, what was it like, and what do you see of today's game, and like all their views on the sport or a subject that I love. That would be interesting to me.
Have you ever seen the guy that goes to Canuck games that dresses as Don Cherry?
No, I've not seen that.
Okay, well, that's me.
Okay.
Okay, well then.
So Don Cherry's that big an idol for you?
Yeah. I started as a Halloween costume, and then because the Canucks played Chicago on Halloween a couple years back, and they caught me in the stands, and I was all over the news, and they even had me crank the siren before the game, dressed as Don
I didn't
Cherry.
even see that. I wouldn't have put the two together. I must have seen it.
Then again, it's on Sportsnet, so the Sportsnet sucks.
Well, I still watch the Canucks anyway, so wherever it is, you got to watch it.
Yeah, and of course that was all before he got fired. So now they don't really put me on TV anymore.
Well, you got to have to find a new costume.
I know. I had one actually. I was dressed the night that because he was fired on military night, and I had my season tickets are down there, and I dressed in like a full yellow suit, like the Green Man suit, but in yellow with the old school '94 Canuck jersey on. And when they finally hit me on the big screen, I lifted up my shirt and I had a sign that said "Free Don Cherry." And the whole arena just erupted and went nuts, and people were buying me beers in between periods. And
well,
good day.
That's a way to get some beers, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. What's your personal highlight or personal low light?
Oh, personal highlight, man. I don't know. I've been so lucky. I don't know that I have. I mean, I was a little boy and I dreamed of playing in the NHL, and then I got to do it for 18 years.
Okay.
Right. Like I don't know if there's one specific thing I could give, but I mean, I lived my dream. I mean, how many people get to say they do that? I'm married to an amazing woman. I've got 4 boys, 2 from my first marriage and 2 with Cammi. They're just amazing kids. I have a second career that I love. Yeah. Like, to pick one moment, I don't know that I really can. I feel incredibly grateful and blessed to that. Low lights, man, I screwed up more times than you ever care to remember. I'm 56 years old, and what I've, I can't think of one. I can think of many where I've lost patience or not conducted myself the way that I would do it today. But I like to think I'm growing and changing. And yep. I read a quote about you're never too old to learn something. And I really feel like that applies to this stage of my life.
Yeah, got to agree with that one. Did you have any pregame meals or rituals before games? Or even now?
It's just pasta chicken was the most part for me. Steak once in a while. You eat your meal at 1:30 and you don't really eat again till after. So something that would sustain you a bit. I mean, as of now, I like chicken parm.
That was your nickname.
Kind of a nickname of mine. And so I love that. I love sushi. I don't know. I think I got I don't have one favorite thing. I guess the one thing that I would eat if I had nothing else to eat would be chocolate. I wish it was really good for you. Yeah. And the other thing is, I don't know, honestly, too many people that can eat more pizza than I can. It's like I start and I can't stop. And then the reason I stop is I notice that I don't feel good anymore because I've eaten so much pizza. I love it.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's a pretty good one. Do you have are there any rituals now before you go out there or anything?
No, I don't. Do your job. Yeah, just don't be late.
Don't be late. I agree. I don't like people that are late.
Well, but I've directionally I have some challenges. So there's been some times I've kind of just got to the spot on time, and don't be late. That's my ritual.
Yeah, Cammi was telling us one thing too. You're quite the neat freak.
There is not much mess in my space. I do it because cleaning's mindless. Like you just can kind of putter around, and that's number one. Number two is I think there's a right place for everything, and the reason I do that is because it makes it easier to find everything. Yeah. But what I can't believe is I'm neat and I'm organized, and yet there's all these stories about how unorganized I am, and they're all true. Like they're like all these travel stories, all this stupid shit that I do, I'm like, I think I'm really organized, but obviously I'm not, because there's a lot of stuff that doesn't quite go according to plan.
No, I'm the same way. Everything has a spot on the counter, and everything needs to be put
Yeah,
away.
but that's fine if you live with by yourself.
Yeah.
I live in a house with 7 other people. So like things are not where they're supposed to be. And so I've had to learn that that's just the way it is.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. You retired in 2002. Did you know it was time to hang it up?
I did. My, it's 18 years. My left knee, which I just had replaced in September, a full knee replacement. I had 7 surgeries. It was, every game was like, the prep for the game was getting harder and harder and harder. And I just couldn't, I couldn't see being able physically to go through another year of training. I still love to play, but it was time. Like I said, I was really lucky to play that long, and it was time.
Do you play on any like alumni or beer leagues or?
Nope.
Oh.
Nope. I've been on the ice. I don't know. I was coaching Landon when he was younger in the summers, running their summer skates. But as far as actually playing in a charity thing, I bet you I've done it 10 times. And, since 2002, I'm in no rush, put it that way.
How's the new knee holding up? I mean, I listen to 1040 every day, so I knew you were off for a month, I think it was.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I can't quite do what I want to do full time, but I can do most things without pain, which just was not an option. Like even something, Ryan, like going up and down a staircase, like that was a problem for me. And it's just not anymore. Do
you think you have the stats to make it in the Hall of Fame one day?
No. And I don't deserve to be there. My view on the Hall of Fame is it should be for the great, not for the very good. And I think at times we have lowered the standard to very good players. To me, the best of the best belong in the Hall of Fame, and that's it.
Okay, this wasn't one of the questions I wrote down. Do you think Gino gets his number retired? Ojek?
No.
Because you're talking about fringe players, that he's a very big person in our city, but is he?
I mean, that's more, for like whether it can be a Ring of Honor sort of thing. But as far as a jersey retirement, I mean, I'm going to say no, even though I know Gino was one of the most popular players to put that jersey on.
Yeah, we had him on a few months back before he kind of relapsed, kind of thing. Not relapsed, but got sick again.
Yeah,
great guy.
Well, you won't find anybody that doesn't say that about him.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, we met him a few times out there at the Giants games. It's like we've seen you at the Giants games before. I think it was like a Cunningham retirement jersey game.
Craig is. We're very close with Craig. He's an amazing kid. Him and my son Landon are really tight, and so we've had Craig living at our house at various times when they were skating together, and he's just an awesome kid. There's a kid with a lot of stories of.
We had him on
the most intense, hardworking, diligent person. I just love the kid. He's an awesome guy.
Yeah, we had him on about maybe 2 months ago. Great guy.
Yeah. He's doing great. The adversity that he's had to deal with and how he has come through to the point he's at. I'm really proud and really happy for him.
Now for some easygoing questions here. Where did the name Chicken Parm come from?
I was at ESPN, and it was before they built out the campus, and they have these great cafeterias and all this stuff now. But the time there was nowhere to go eat except for maybe a couple of little places in Bristol, Connecticut, which is a tiny place where ESPN is. There was an Italian place across the street. Me and John Butchergross would go get takeout there literally every day that we worked. And I would get chicken parm, like 4 out of 6 days. And one day we were doing an interview, which we had to tape, which we didn't do very often. And I was in my suit, and the plastic fork that I was eating with broke. and the chicken parm fell into the sauce and splashed all over my shirt. And so that night when we were on the show, Bucci pointed it out, and so it looked like a gunshot wound, right? Like a big thing of red sauce, and started calling me chicken parm, and that was it. That's where it came from. And all these years later, 20 years later, I see people and they're like, "Hey, chicken parm, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm good." I guess it could be worse.
I know you could have nicknames like I got, asshole.
Yeah, well, if it's true, it's true, right?
Yeah, no, I'm not an asshole.
Well, I'm just saying, but you never know, right? Somebody's named you.
Yeah. We got a write-in question from my buddy Slatebag here. Regular contributor to your guys' 1040 stuff. Can you tell us the locked out naked story from the World Juniors?
So we had this exercise bike in our room, and it was gold medal day, and so we needed to return it. So we had to put the bike out in the hallway. And so I got a call early that morning, I don't know, maybe 6 o'clock from Landon. He was in Germany. And so we had to talk about a few things. And, I don't know if you've been in Alberta much in the winter, it's super dry.
Okay.
And so I would often start my morning by turning the shower on so it would steam up the bathroom and then, try and clear my head. So I finished talking to Landon. I turned the steam shower on, and I'm like, "Oh, damn, I gotta put that bike outside." And while the thing's steaming up, I might as well just go do it. So put the bike, get it on its wheels, push it out in the hallway, and I got to turn it. So because you can't just push it straight out in the hallway, I got to turn it against the wall. So as I turn it, my foot slips off the door, and it's so quiet, that click when the door closes, but it sounded like a cannon shot. So I got no clothes on, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm just looking at the door. I try the handle. Of course, it's locked, right? I mean, it's a door. So I look around. There's nobody there. We're the only people in the hotel, TSN more or less, on this floor anyway. And I see the house phone, and I'm like, "Oh, good. I'll just go down there and call the desk." I go down there. Nobody's been in the hotel in 3 months. I pick it up. It's not working. Now, as I say that, I don't even think to check if it's plugged in. I just thought of that. I never. So anyway, it doesn't work. So I hang up. I'm like, what am I going to do? Well, I hear Craig Button. He's in the room next to me, or next to the elevators, and I can hear him talking. So I knock on the door, and then I realize he's doing a radio interview. I'm like, "Oh, fuck, he's not going to come to the door." So I walk back down the hall. I got no clothes on, and I look around. Like, there's nothing there, right? It's a hallway. So I walk back down. He's still on the phone. At this point, I realize, man, I wonder if there's security cameras here. So the next time I walk down the hall, I kind of cover myself up with my hands, and I walk down there, and I see the service elevators behind a door, and I'm like, maybe there's something in there. So I go in there, and there are these shelves that should have a bunch of towels and linens and things, but nobody's been in the hotel for 3 months. They're empty. And I look, and in the corner, there's a bath mat, 2 of them. And I'm like, "Oh, thank God." So I wrap this bath mat as far as it goes around you, like kind of half the way. And I walk back down. Craig's finally off the phone. I hear him, "Oh, yeah, it's going to be a great game tonight. Thanks a lot. See ya." And he hangs up. So I bang on the door. He comes to the door. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I locked myself out of my room." He's like, "Oh, come in and call the desk." So I go in, I call the desk. I get off the phone, and he looks at me and he goes, "Why do you have a bath mat wrapped around you?" So I tell him the story, and he is dying. I've never seen him laugh so hard. And I call down. Craig says, "Go in the bathroom, grab a towel." So I got a towel. Now I'm fine. Guy comes up, gives me the key. I go in the room, and that's my naked out in the hallway story.
How about the trade? That's a pretty good story, by the way.
Turned out well. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, wait till they had to send you down there to the front desk to get a towel.
Yeah, I don't know what I was going to do. I was going to have to yell at them and say, "Hey, help,"
Yeah, hit the fire alarm or something.
Well,
that wouldn't even help you. Then you would be outside on the street.
Yeah, that's no good. So that was another worry, was the steam shower was going to set off the fire alarm.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I was like, man, I got to get this thing sorted.
How about the trade this morning? Line A for Dubois.
Well, 2 guys that obviously had spoken earlier that they wanted to be out of their current teams. It's, they weren't happy in the cities they were in. Well, they kind of got traded to the same city.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's not like they're going to LA or Montreal or Toronto or something.
Cold and ugly.
I think both teams will be really pleased with the player they got. Line A's an elite shooter, one of the best goal scorers in the league, really. I'm assuming they'll play him with Max Domi, but we'll see how that plays out. Dubois he's a beast, right? He's a monster. Yeah. And Winnipeg now, I don't know what they'll do with their center ice position. One of those guys is going to have to go to the wing. Maybe Dubois goes there right now with Scheifele, but it's pretty easy to see a Scheifele, Dubois, Lowry center ice position. And you're like, those are three big, really good centers. And so Jack Roslovic's in the deal too. He's from Columbus. I think he'll do well. I think this is everybody's trying to pick a winner. I don't know that there will be. I think there'll be two teams that are happy with the people they got.
Yeah, it kind of seems that way. And Columbus has really turned the shit around in a little bit here. They're always moving and making moves, but bringing in Max Domi and now you're bringing in Line A. Those are two stars. Well,
Domi, they had to give up Josh Anderson. Josh Anderson's a good player. And I know people look at last year and he had, he played just a couple of games. He had, a handful of games. He had one goal. But if you look at his stats, I think that is the outlier year. It's not like he had a career year and that happens once. He's a 17 to 25 goal scorer. He's built like a cement mixer. He can skate. He gives Montreal size. I like that trade from Montreal's standpoint. And, Domi's now, he's got to be a front of the bus centerman. And I don't know that he is or isn't, but he's going to be playing with a shooter and his job's going to be getting the shooter the puck.
Toffoli's really been kicking our ass the last few games here in Vancouver.
Yeah, they probably should have found a way to sign him.
Yeah, and it might have meant Jake. You might have to get rid of Jake, and
well, that's up to them. They've made the moves they've made. I myself personally, I think there's, Toffoli's consistent production. I would have done just about anything to try and keep.
Especially giving up a stud prospect like Madden.
Well, they paid a big price and now they've got neither.
Yeah.
And that's not great asset management.
Do you back any teams or do you kind of have to stay neutral? Do you have a favorite sports franchise?
I don't have to stay neutral. I don't care who wins. I really don't. If a team I like wins the Stanley Cup, it's not like they're going to give me a ring.
Yeah.
Right. So I just do my job. I love my job. What I hope for is the games I go to do are good. I know when I criticize a team, it's just my opinion. Yet I know that, people think I hate the Canucks or I'm ragging on Montreal or Toronto or whatever it is. I honestly, I can't state it enough. I couldn't care less if Vancouver makes the playoffs or don't, except I really like some of the people around there and I cheer for them. I cheer for my friends. Travis Green is a friend.
Yeah.
I hope Greeny does well. Seriously, I want him to do well. I was super pumped for them last year to do well in the bubble. I love watching Pettersson play. My wife is good friends with Quinn Hughes' mom. So I cheer for Quinn. I like their young players. I like JT Miller. I want them to do well. But if they don't, then I go and analyze the next team, right? That's my job. It's not my job to cheer.
Do you have a favorite sports franchise? Doesn't have to be hockey.
Boston Red Sox.
Boston Red Sox, okay.
I started cheering for the Red Sox in 1975 and been a Red Sox fan ever since.
Do you have a favorite sports movie?
I love Miracle. I thought that was really good. I love Bull Durham.
Yeah.
Was awesome. I can't get by Field of Dreams if it's on. I watch that too. But I'm a hockey guy, so I bet you I've watched Slapshot more than anything.
Yeah, and we hear from all the young guys that Slapshot's one of the movies and Miracle that they always play on the bus.
Yeah, the Miracle stuff. Of course, I was 16 in 1980, and I ended up playing with and against some of those guys. That meant a lot to me. I thought Kurt Russell did an amazing job in his role.
Yeah.
Slapshot is just
Awesome.
Just awesome. All these years later, it's still awesome. And I thought, Kevin Costner was unreal in Bull Durham.
Yeah.
And in Field of Dreams. I thought he was outstanding in those movies.
I even steal that line sometimes. If you build it, they will come. So
if you build it, they will come.
That's a good
you
quote.
Betcha.
Still.
They use that on there was a quote in there. Is this heaven? No, it's Iowa. And the Iowa Tourism Board used that for years.
Yeah. Holy.
Pretty good line for your tourism.
Yeah, right. Who is the toughest player or most hated player you ever played against?
Chris Chelios. He was so good, and he was dirty and mean. And man, I wish he was on my team. But I hated playing against him.
You obviously played lots against Kasperitis. We had him on 2 nights ago.
Oh, I wish I would have known.
Yeah.
I played with Darius too, right?
Yeah, right.
With the Islanders. And if you can ever find a shift, it might have been game 4? Might have been game 4 against the Penguins. And Casper, he takes a 20-foot run at Lemieux and then another run at Yager. The place is going wild. Man, he was awesome to have as a teammate. What a great guy. Man, he's one of those guys too. He never spoke great English at that time, but he thought he did, which made it even better, man. We just loved him. And then we had another Russian at the time, Vladdy Malikov, who was an amazing player. And Vladdy didn't say 2 words. So there were these 2 Russian players. Casper never stopped talking, and Vladdy never started.
Yeah, it was a pretty good interview we had with him. He could tell some good stories, that's for sure.
Yeah, he had a lot of people pissed off at him a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's for sure. Who's your favorite sports hero?
Well, Bobby Orr was my guy growing up. I always wanted to be Bobby. I was a Bruins fan as a kid. And, he was just so great. My favorite Red Sox was Jim Rice, and, Hall of Famer. And, man, he was the guy I connected to right away.
With all the holes in Vancouver defense right now, do you think Jet Wu will get a shot? He was also on 2 nights ago.
Well, he's not even on the taxi squad.
No, I know, but you could get called up from Utica.
Yeah, well,
with that 2-week thing, it's kind of hard.
Yeah, I mean, look, they got enough problems with guys that have no experience.
Yeah.
And they're not going to call up another one to put in more no experience. I mean, they're hanging on by a thread right now. And I don't know that another young guy is the answer. I mean, I don't know enough about Jet Wu to say that, yeah, he'd be a great choice right now, but clearly they have these other guys rated in front of him as being closer to being NHL ready. And you saw like Rafferty played the other night, and that was a big step for him.
Okay, this is a dream trade of mine, but what do you think it would take to get Bowen Byram out of Colorado? It's never going to happen.
Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, okay, straight up, one for one.
Well, are you going to make that trade?
No, I wouldn't probably give up Quinn, but
well, then you're not getting Bowen Byram.
Yeah. At one point, I wanted to give him Markstrom, Virtanen, and a first for him.
You're not getting him. The kid's a stud.
He is.
The kid is a star.
And we used to go watch him all the time, of course, out in Langley at the event center. And
he's a fantastic
nice
player. He had his first point last night. Just an amazing assist on a Mikko Rantanen goal. And I look at that Colorado blue line with Makar and Girard and Timmins, and there's 3 more of them at the World Junior Tournament, all young Colorado defensemen. Like, I don't know what they're going to do with all of them, what a great problem to have.
Yeah, Colorado is definitely stacked. They even got like all their young guys. They got goalies like Trent Miner from the Giants went there. There's a Colby Ambrosio that got drafted to Colorado, another good kid of ours.
Yeah, but I mean, so I'm talking about a second rounder. I'm losing his name now. U.S. kid Drew Hellison is there, so he's second round pick.
Yeah.
Justin Barron, first round pick on Team Canada. So, like the guys you're talking about, but there are high end prospects just sitting outside the NHL development chain that Colorado's already drafted, and that doesn't even include Devon Taves, who they just made a trade for. I mean, like they are loaded on the blue line. They might have to add some size, but that's a lot easier to go find than some of the quality of young players they have.
Definitely the most prospect pool on definitely in the Western Conference for sure. I would think LA apparently has a lot of them too.
Well, LA had 9 players at the World Junior Tournament 2 years ago, 9 this past year. So that's 18 of them just there. If you can get 6 legit NHLers out of that, man, could you imagine? That's a third of your team in 2 drafts. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm going to hate going against Colorado for the next 20 years while they got these stacked rosters.
It's going to be a while. They're in good shape.
I know. Let's just hope that salary cap screws them over somehow. So they got to trade us.
It gets everybody, man. It gets everybody. The cap wins every time.
Well, I'm out of questions there, Ray. So I want to thank you for taking the time for us here on a Saturday morning. My co-host couldn't make it today. He's normally with me, but he apparently fucked up.
Well, your dog walked through.
Oh, yeah. That's my dog, Tupac. He's a French bulldog.
Yeah, he walked through. So he was there. He didn't ask anything, but,
Yeah, actually on the pretty sure it was the Casperitis one. Oh, actually, it might have been one of the other ones the other night. He was my co-host. He was sitting in the chair here and...
good for C. He'll get there.
Yeah, we're developing him.
Yeah, you betcha. It's got to be a prospect pool.
That's for sure. Perfect. I love it. Thank you for taking the time, Ray.
You betcha. Take care. Have a good one. Hey, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, see ya.
Thanks. Bye-bye.